Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 106 of B-Road Ballers on Gran Turismo 6 in particular, and this vehicle is one of those cars, and I'm sure this has been the case for you guys with certain vehicles as well, that you have a certain memory of a car. Maybe you bought it at some point on Gran Turismo, maybe even within one game, and then you tuned it up, maybe you tried to drive it, tried to race it, and then for whatever reason your memory of that car is a little bit different to what it actually is. And that actually happened for me with this vehicle, the Mitsubishi Colt. In particular, the 2002 Mitsubishi Colt X. I was certain, if you had asked me, that this was a vehicle with a single forward gear, a direct drive, if you will, in a similar way to vehicles like the Prius touring car. That's not the case. In fact, it's not even close. Even in stock form, it doesn't have direct drive. So I'm not sure why I remembered it that way, but for whatever reason, it wasn't. Now, with that being said, I'm actually really pleased that this car does not have that single speed, because you can do so much more when you've got 5 or 6 gears to be working with. In the case of this car, a 5-speed race box is more than enough to get the job done, especially when you consider what this Mitsubishi Colt actually has to offer. Because this, I would say, is a hidden gem. First of all, consider the price. This is only a 14,000 credit car. In fact, it's just under 15,000. That's dirt cheap, straight off the bat. You'd expect a car like this to be pretty cheap anyway, but still, that is very, very cheap for a relatively modern, relatively modest-sized hatchback. Now, for that 15,000 credits, you get a 1.5 litre engine. It's front-wheel drive, as you'd safely assume it would be, and you can turbocharge that engine to some really good numbers. Straight up impressive numbers, in fact. 266 horsepower, 205 foot-pounds of torque. That is very good for a 1.5 litre engine, especially in what is essentially not a performance car. It's not a hot hatch, it's not even a low-end sports hatch, really. The weight is also really low. 860 kilos with the full weight loss package is very good. Again, very impressive. And when you combine that weight with the impressive power, you're looking at 309 horsepower per tonne. That is pretty serious territory for a non-performance, small, cheap, unassuming hatchback to be working with. That's sports car level in some cases. But all of those specs, the low weight, the high power, the impressive horsepower per tonne, are all wrapped up in a car which only has a maximum PP level of 470. And it's that PP level which really seals the deal for the entire package on this car. It really does have it all as far as small hatchbacks go. It's cheap, it's understated, it's powerful, it's torquey, it's lightweight, and the PP is very reasonable. It's a very good car, put simply. Now, on paper is one thing, on the track is another. Because, of course, we have featured cars before, like the Toyota Will, for instance. That's one of the ones that I always go back to, that has really impressive numbers on paper, far better than you'd probably expect it to have. But when you actually drive it, it's not bad, but the fact that it's not a performance car really shines through. The handling is heavy. It has a tendency to torque steer and spin up its tyres more than a performance hatchback would, which isn't surprising. At the end of the day, it's not a performance car. So, although it's good, it could be a lot better. So is that the case with the Colt? Well, happily, for the most part, I would say no. There is a little hint of understeer and a little bit of torque steer and wheel spin in particular that can happen, especially if you're in fully tuned form on lower grade tyres, for instance, Comfort Softs. However, overall, it's a really good track car. The handling is nimble, as you'd expect from a small light vehicle, but it's also fun. You get a lot of feedback from the vehicle, it's got a lot of character, it feels kind of thumpy in the way it performs, it's got a great little engine, and the overall package is, I would say, one of the best sleeper cars of this entire series, especially when you factor in value for money with the 15 grand price tag. So overall, although the Mitsubishi Colt isn't necessarily a car which most people would use all the time, although I think some people probably would, depending on what kind of racing you do, it is definitely a car which you should consider. If you're a hatchback fan, if you race around 470 pp or even lower, It's definitely a car to keep in mind. It's a much less obvious choice than your GSX-R4s or your DC2 Integras, but at the same time, it's got a huge amount of potential and a huge amount of ability. It's very easy to drive, which also makes it perfect for beginners, and also perfect for beginners because of how cheap it is. So overall, it's a pretty simple review. It's a brilliant little car, and a perfect sleeper. So if you haven't tried out the 2002 Mitsubishi Colt on GT6 or older Gran Turismo games as well, it's definitely worth a look. But that's it for this pick overall. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.